So I thought since it was a gorgeous day, the bugs are not quite as bad today as yesterday. Yesterday they could eat you alive. I would take a tour of some of our fruit trees that are in blossom. So this is our toka. Over here, it's been so long I don't even know if I remember what these guys are called, but they have a fantastic taste. So we had bought these three from a nursery down south, and their pollinators died on us. They weren't for this zone. So we put in, this is a toka plum. It's kind of nicknamed Bubblegum Plum, and it's really tasty. And you can see it is just loaded with blossoms. I wish you guys could smell it. It's kind of like Kool-Aid smell when you walk around these trees. So we put in the toka plum that we just showed you, and it is a self-pollinating plum, so it cross-pollinates them, as well as we put in an American plum. But so far the toka tree has been definitely cross-pollinating them. I was kind of concerned because we have so many plum flowers, and then it was kind of rainy and overcast, and the bees don't like to come out and pollinate in that kind of weather. But I prayed, and it has been beautifully sunny since, and I think we're getting lots of pollination happening here. You just hear the buzz. There's so many bumblebees and little mason bees, and it is just very active. So here's hoping that this year we get lots of plums. So this is our blue plum. It's a self-pollinating, as far as I know, Mount Royal. And because the other trees are loaded with flowers, we're not really noticing. There's a little bit of mason bee activity, but I'm not really noticing a lot of activity. So I went ahead and pollinated yesterday the flowers, and so hopefully we'll still get some plums off of this one. So the problem is that right now the plums are flowering and the pears are flowering, and the bees would prefer the plums and any apples over pear blossoms. So here we have some pear trees that for the first time might produce for us this year. There's just a few blossoms up here. Let's see that. And then there's a few blossoms on this one, which is another collapse. Or it's supposed to be, at least. There is just something so beautiful about when the plum trees flower. They are just loaded with flowers, and it's so pretty. I feel so blessed. So these trees have been here, boy, it must be somewhere around 8 years now. I'll have to double check on that one. And we've had a couple plums over the years, but nothing major. So we'll see how this year goes. So this is our Sepulta chum. This should pollinate with the Mount Royal, but unfortunately it is not flowering at the same time. So hopefully it will find something to pollinate with, because it is going to be loaded with flowers as well. The apples are just starting to blossom. And I can't remember the name of this one, so it'll be a surprise when it starts to bear. Hopefully it'll bear this year. It's got a good amount of blossoms on it. So this is our Olsen Bartlett. It just started to produce last year. It produced a few pears for us. Hopefully it'll produce a lot more this year. So let's see if there's any bees. So I do see there is some bumblebee activity and some wasps, so hopefully it'll get some pollination up there and we'll get some fruit on both trees. So I just saw something that's really exciting to me. We had planted some pears espalier on this fence here, and this is the first year that this one has flowered. And we should have pruned it this past year, but we didn't get to pruning it, so I guess it'll have to be pruned next spring. And again, there's not a lot of activity here. So you can see that pears, somebody said they just don't have the same attracting smell that the plums and apples do, so it's harder to convince the bees. But there you go. There's a bumblebee. So anyways, I might have to come and pollinate this one as well. But you know what? It's worth it. It's so little work for what you can get. And sometimes, you know, you'll have trees full of blossoms, but the pollinating won't happen. Maybe it's a rainy week when they're open. And then it's disappointing when you saw all those flowers and no fruit. So definitely worth a little bit of effort. So I thought since I was over here, I would show you the currants. They are doing fantastic. There's so many flowers on them. I'm telling you, if there's one thing that is quick fruit and gives an abundance of fruit, it is currant plants. These are mostly, there's some red and white currants in here, but over here they're mostly black currants. And they produce so much food, so much food. And they produce it so quickly. Whereas the fruit trees have taken us years. These we put in, and I think even the first year we got some fruit. The second year we got lots of fruit. And then from there on you just get loads of fruit. Like these guys are just loaded down with fruit when it comes time. And although black currants are an acquired taste, they are so good for you. They're just a little below elderberry basically. And I'll show you, I've shown you how the currant plant looks that we planted. Now I'll show you the elderberry. So I'm all for elderberry, but this is the plant we planted a while back. Out of all the ones we planted, this one I think was the only one that survived, so we left it room around the bottom to basically elderberry spreads, so it'll grow up and then it'll produce fruit, and I think it's about 3 years before that part dies, and then it's as in the meantime it's spreading. So anyways, that's from my observation. You can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But so far last year we had very little fruit still off of this big plant. So if you could see the size of it compared to my currant, and I get loads more food off of my black currant plant. So I'm definitely a big fan of the black currants. So next I'll show you the cherries. So I think this is the first year that this one has flowered, and I'm really looking forward to tasting the fruit. If it did flower in the past and we got any fruit, I don't remember what it tasted like, so I don't think it did last year. Anyways, this year hopefully it'll produce lots. It's got so many flowers. So this is one of the romance series. I can't remember exactly which one. Let's see, I think there's a label here. So it's Juliet. So these are just by the old foundation. So that's what that is in the background. We thought we would surround it with something beautiful, and the heat of the foundation would help these guys to ripen up and help them to survive. So these are a sour cherry. Montmorency, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but it's your typical canned pie filling cherry. And we have that here, and then a little bit down from it we have, this is the European equivalent to what they would have as a pie filling cherry, and I'll have to post the name if I can remember it. I'm not remembering right now, but anyways, they're pretty decent too. So the biggest thing with the cherries is it seems like every year the birds get them. So I think we've decided, because they're so big, that like we tried regular netting and it just didn't cut it. So I think that our old bug nets from above our beds are going to be dedicated to these two, and we'll see how it does, because we get so few cherries and the birds come and get them before they're ripe, so it'll be nice to have some more. It's flowering really well, so. So I thought I would show you, I'm so excited. There is cherries and pears and apples coming and peaches coming, and I'm so excited. And this is on my Montmorency, which looks like it's going to get more. It's a little bit behind the other one. It looks like it's going to get some cherries as well. So I'm really happy. So I have to make sure the squirrels don't steal them this year though. Let's see. And the North Star has some as well. I have to say I'm really thankful, because it was looking really cold and rainy, and I was thinking we weren't going to get the pollinators coming and pollinating. But I prayed and we got some great weather afterwards, and there's lots of pollinators, and now it looks like the trees are just loaded with fruit. It's so exciting. I'm gonna go see if I can see any plums. So the plums seem to be a little bit slower for some of them, but I do still see some plums coming. So this is our Mount Royal, our blue plums. I'm excited to have some of those coming. There's still no guarantees. We still have to fight off the pests, so we'll see how it goes. But it's a good start. So although I missed the flowers and it was very fleeting, I'm very excited about the fruit that's coming. So I hope that gets you guys excited to plant some fruit trees. And you know, you don't get fruit overnight, but it's worth the wait.